So this is day 2 of our little September session, and we got some rain to break the humidity. It's kind of nice. Yeah, so sitting hard. This is really the backbone of this practice. I can't emphasize it enough. Doing session, doing intensive sitting, there's just nothing like it. That's all I'll say. And yet we have this time during the day to talk about things. Um, I really would just rather sit, but you know, we do the best we can. We do the best we can, and it's on the schedule, so we're gonna do it. And very often for a session, I choose like a work, a writing, a book, a something to look at for the whole session. But I was thinking to myself, it's been a while since we just did the old classic look at a koan and talk about it. That's kind of the majority of the talks that I, came up with were like, and I was missing it. And so I've just been thinking about talking about koans and which ones should I choose to talk about. Um, And so what I decided was we have 5 days of talks and 5 collections that we go through in our curriculum. So today I thought I would talk on a koan from the miscellaneous 200 koans that we start out with, which I was trying to remember who compiled them. I think it was Koryu Roshi, who was actually a lay teacher who taught Maizumi Roshi. He was Maizumi Roshi's teacher. So yeah, I think this 200, um, let me make sure I don't have any other notes. Uh, yeah, I guess not. Um, so yeah, so that wasn't very long ago that these first 200 were compiled. And they just kind of, I really like them because we call them the miscellaneous koans. And so some of them are from more official collections. Some of them are just kind of little one-liners to really help us penetrate. So they're kind of miscellaneous. And I really like starting with them because they really do kind of help us get into the language of koans, right? Um, it's tempting to think that like koans are these magic things that if you sit with them, some voice from beyond will tell you what to do. But they are a vocabulary, they are their own language. And so those first 200 really help us kind of get into the groove, so to speak. So yeah, today I'll talk about one of the 200 miscellaneous koans. And then tomorrow I'll talk about one from the Muman Khan or the Gateless Gate. And then Friday we'll do the Blue Cliff Record. Saturday we'll do the Book of Equanimity. And then we'll close on Sunday with the koan from the Record of Transmitting the Light or the Denko Roku. Uh, so those are the 5 collections that we start with. And then you do 100 precept koans, and then there's about another 55 ranks koans, but those are, uh, we'll just forget about those for now. So, why koans? Why koans? What are they? I was reading some commentary from this Korean teacher that I like, and he was talking about there's kind of a historical split, and you got some teachers, primarily like Soto, Dogen people who are like, just sit, Koans are just games that you play with your students, and it really is all about just being this. What did he say? Sitting, sitting with his mind neither tight nor loose. That's a nice way of talking about just sitting. But then you have other cats from different schools who are like, if you don't do koans, then what are you doing? I remember I had an early mentor in Zen who told me that he and his Sangha used to say that the Soto people who don't do koans are like logs floating in the river pretending to be alligators. Pretty judgmental stuff. So yeah, so you have different schools of thought. I was raised doing koan stuff, and that's what I know. That's how I know how to like work with people, and um, I find them to be extremely powerful, and yeah, just a very direct way. It's almost like a crutch, with just sitting. You really have to like dig and create intimacy between yourself and your teacher to really like get to the heart of your practice. But koans, they kind of are an intimacy crutch, I guess you could say. Because in trying to express these koans, our stuck places just come through so easily, so clearly. So they're very user friendly, so to speak, even though they're very difficult. So that's my little spiel on koans. And, of course, if you are just happy, like if your path is just to sit and be in community and, um, just find peace in your practice, then koans are certainly not necessary to do that. But if you really want to know what this dropping off body and mind really is, this way of awakening, this anatman, selflessness. It's not that you have to do koans, certainly, but they are very helpful and expedient. Expedient means, for sure. That's my pitch. Let's get into this koan. So this is number 18 of 200 from the miscellaneous collection. So, and a lot of koans are like stories. So this one is about a guy named Sei Kendo of Cho. So Sei Kendo of Cho composed a gatha as he was enlightened upon hearing a thunder strike. So this is his gatha. Sitting in the room in absolute silence, mind source unmoved, filled like still water. The striking of thunder has opened the gate of the head's crown. The beginningless self-nature has been awakened. And then the koan asks us, what is the most important line of that gatha? So I'll just kind of go line by line and offer some thoughts. Sei Kendo of Cho composed a gatha as he was enlightened upon hearing a thunder strike. So this already brings up so much for me. This is an old practice, writing your enlightenment gatha. If someone came to me in Daison and said, I was enlightened last Wednesday, and here's what I wrote about it. that would probably feel a little bit clingy to me, right? I gained this thing and now I'm holding on to it, and this is what it was like, and this is what it means. Um, so I would not recommend doing that. But on the other hand, it's a way to communicate. It's an art form. If you're living back in Seikendo's day, there's not much else to do. Maybe you're living on a monastery, and I don't know. But of course, we compose gathas in our own head all the time. We tell ourselves stories about our experience. Oh, I had this experience and I understand that thing now. And that means that I get blah, blah, blah. And I'll never be the kind of person that blah, 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 blah. All these different like stories that we cling to. Um, we want to hold on to our experiences, our wisdom. Um, and I think that just kind of causes further confusion. That's why I've never really understood like writing down affirmations and then like putting them on the wall or whatever. Um, I've tried, but it just feels so stale. And hey, if you can keep it fresh all the time, that's wonderful. But for me, um, I find myself more free when I don't hang on to my various ideas of how I should feel, how life should be, how I should see things, but just rather to be open, Gotha-less every day. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe, maybe that's wrong. Anyway, so his Gotha goes sitting in the room in absolute silence. So that kind of feels like Sesshin a little bit. And absolute silence. I don't think that's a thing, right? You can't have that. Um, Electrons are moving constantly, right? So what is this absolute silence? That's kind of a koan in and of itself. What is absolute silence in the middle of a busy street or at a football game? Is absolute silence there? It's interesting. So yeah, sitting in the room in absolute silence. And yeah, on the other hand, that is something that we don't really get to do. But to do sesshin and whenever we do zazen, to take that time to just sit in a room. Who does that? And yet it's like this timeless thing that we kind of share with all humans, at least since shelters were a thing. Just sitting in a room. It's such a beautiful image that literally every human knows, just sitting in the room. It reminds me, there's a scene in Boardwalk Empire. If you've ever seen Boardwalk Empire, uh, who says it? One of the characters says, you can tell most about a man by how he acts when he's alone in a room. So this is a common phenomenon, powerful phenomenon. So he's sitting in the room in absolute silence, mind source unmoved. Mind source unmoved. We think about quieting our minds in Zazen. What about the source of mind? Even that is unmoved. So, yeah, there is another koan that says kind of what is the source of mind? And you have to present your best expression. The source of mind, unmoved. So yeah, that just feels like total stillness to me. And let's say you do feel like there is a source of mind. What's the source of that? And the source of that, there's a parable, right? Oh, what's that from? He's like, who holds the world? And the person, the spiritual whatever, or God or something, is like, the world is balanced on the back of a turtle. And someone says, what is the turtle on? And he says, the turtle is standing on another turtle. Well, what is that turtle on? And the guy says, it's turtles all the way down. I love that. So yeah, what's the ultimate foundational turtle is unmoved. What is that like? And then it says filled like still water, which is interesting. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I think it was Aitken Roshi who said, if you're good at metaphors, you'll enjoy koans. So to have this kind of open, curious mind, not necessarily, the Dharma talk, we do a little bit of like extrapolating to try to like inspire ourselves to keep sitting sesshin. So it's not really about like poetry or philosophy analysis, but it is about really being with each line and really opening up to the spirit of each line. So filled like still water. So I just picture like a totally pristine, untouched lake or a glass of water and just how whole it looks. And then when the wind comes and it starts getting rocky, then, there's like empty parts and there's choppy parts and it doesn't look as filled. It's interesting. And that's, I think we all have that experience when we really sit in stillness, that samadhi experience, like still water, you see that the whole world is really filled. And then once our ideas about good and bad, right and wrong, once they come back into play, now it's choppy and kind of unfilled, unfulfilled. So yeah, he's in this room. His deepest, most turtle is absolutely still. He's so still that everything is filled. And then he says, the striking of thunder has opened the gate of the head's crown. So I just imagine this absolute stillness, this silence, this quiet room. And then here comes this big and breaks it all. And it opens the gate of the head's crown, which I'm not sure. There's all kinds of meridian energy, chakra, head stuff that I'm not sure, but basically awakening. It broke my head open. And I just love this so much because, I feel like we kind of get lost today in this talk about like calm your mind, quiet your mind, quiet your mind, calm down, get rid of your stress, be at peace. And in this story, he has all the peace in the world. He's got like this super profound silence and stillness. And he's just like a placid lake, unmoved. But the thing that actually awakens him is this huge, monstrous sound that completely ruins all of that stillness and all of that silence. I just think that's so appropriate. There's nothing that cool about sitting with a quiet mind. We quiet our mind so that we can really be with all the noise, whether it's a thunderstrike or the cars going by on Highland or my deepest innermost fear and regret or a throbbing heap of jealousy that just keeps me up at night, or being in love so much that you just can't stand it. You have butterflies in your stomach all the time. That is how we open our head's crown, by really seeing that, by being one with our life, not just being still and silent, but to really be the thunderstrike, to really be jealousy. Uh, that is how we get to see things for what they are and realize that there's no separation. Thunder is not something out there that is being experienced by me. Jealousy is not some extra, external force that was put on me by another person. No, but to really be one with all of the noise and all of the waves and all of the choppy things. So yeah, it's just a really beautiful image. Here we all are quiet and peaceful, and then this huge ruckus is what wakes us up. It's great. And then he says, the beginningless self-nature has been awakened. So that's why I came to Zen. Honestly, I just had a burning need to know. I didn't have the language for it at the time, but like, what is my beginningless, endless self nature outside of Chowa, outside of this body, outside of being born in Los Angeles, outside of liking music? What am I really? What the hell is it? How is it possible that we live this whole life where we care about all these things and then it just goes away? Is that it? Is that all I am? I have an inkling I might be bigger than that. And of course you are. Beginningless, beginningless self nature. It's like that other famous koan. What was your true face before your parents were born? Or what is your true face before your parents were born? Doesn't matter. Was, is. Um, if you can answer that, then life, death, suffering, not a problem. Um, yeah, come face to face with your beginningless self nature. And then it says, what is the most important line? And so working with the koan, you're supposed to express and share what the most important line is. Which, I think the practice of that really is the most important thing, because that question really makes us look at each line deeply. And the famous quote you always hear is that we don't study koans, we use koans to study our life. So important, so important. We're not studying koans, we're using koans to study our life. And so just in the way that this koan really encourages us to look at each line, not analyze, not intellectualize, not, trying not to be up here with it, but to really sit with each one in our hara. And of course, your mind is at play, and hara, mind, separation. Is there separation? Who knows? All that. Um, but can we do that with our life? Every step we take, every interaction, every failure, every achievement, every shower, um, really look at it, really investigate, not trying to find an answer or an explanation, but just to be intimate. That's what it is. Be intimate with each line of your koan and of your life. And I think that sesshin is one of the most effective, powerful ways to do that. Sitting in our absolute silence, just getting intimate with this. It's a very special opportunity. And I really, really thank you for sharing it with me.